y'all, this is Nina at www.southernaccents.stampinup.net. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I wanted to share some cards with you today out of the new 2017 holiday catalog. It went live September 1st, and the stamp set that we're using today is one of the most popular sets in the catalog, and it's Painted Harvest. And there's a whole suite of products, and the paper is just absolutely beautiful. There's a stamp set and a coordinating punch, the leaf punch. If you buy these in a bundle, you save 10%. So everybody's looking for a bargain, right? But today we're going to be using the stamp set, and we're going to be using another punch that's available in the catalog, the Everyday Label Punch. This is a new punch that I love. And let me tell you what inspired this card. Our church had an event last week called Tables of Love, and women get together. We decorate a table, and we invite friends to come, and it's just a nice event, inspirational event. These were the place cards that I made. In fact, my whole table was inspired by the Painted Autumn Suite. I just fell in love with it so much. But these are my place cards, and I am going to make a card using this design. So we're using the Painted Harvest stamp set, and we're using the Painted Harvest DSP. And let's get stamping. Put this away. So what we're going to use, I'm going to use a crumb cake card base, cut it 8.5 by 5.5, and we're just going to fold that in the center. Get it lined up. Then I'm going to add, I didn't have any background pieces on here, but I thought for the card, these berries in this are Cajun Craze. You see those little berries? So I'm going to bring that out. I'm going to do another layer of Cajun Craze, and this is cut at 4 by 5.25. And then for my next layer, the DSP layer, this is cut at 3 3/4. Wait a minute, let me measure it. I'm sorry. That's cut at 5 by 3 3/4. Yes, 5 by 3 3/4. So that's how it's going to layer. And then we're going to have another layer of Cajun Craze. I've just got a scrap piece of that and a scrap piece of Very Vanilla to do our sentiment. So first of all, what I'm going to do is go ahead and punch out. Let's see, I'm going to turn it this way. I try to get as much use out of my paper as possible. I'm just going to punch that piece, and that's the piece that our sentiment's going to go on instead of the name. And the sentiment that I'm using is I am thankful for you. And I think I'm going to emboss this in copper. So I've got my copper embossing powder, my embossing buddy. Let me find my Versamark. The Versamark ink pad. This is a great ink to use with your heat embossing because it is a sticky ink, and that embossing powder sticks to it. So I'm using my embossing buddy to go over that to eliminate any static or oils that the embossing powder could stick to. I'm inking up my sentiment, and I want to put it kind of right in the center. Just like that. Just gonna pour the embossing powder. I love this copper for fall. I think this copper embossing powder has turned into my favorite. And we've got some copper trim, ribbon trim. That's beautiful too. Okay, I'm being clumsy. Where are my tweezers? All right, so just get any extra off. And then I'm going to get my heat tool. And we're going to heat this up. Okay, so I'm going to hold it with this. First, let me put this back in the container before it goes flying everywhere. Now let's heat this up. And you'll be able to see it start to change. See it getting shiny. Oh, I love that. And then I'll do on the back as well. Alright. So now, if you'll see on my name tag, I stamped the sunflowers off on the edge. And this stamp set is a two-step stamp. You have the larger image. Wasn't stuck good with it. And then the more detailed image. And then you have the center of the flower. So this larger image, I'm going to stamp in Daffodil Delight. And I'm just going to ink up my stamp. Now remember, I'm stamping off. I'm just going to do on the edge. I think I'm going to do another one right here. And then another one down here. Now, if you'll notice, I did not get any of the center on that, but that's okay. Now we're going to do the more detailed image in crushed curry. Whenever you're doing a two-step stamp, you want to do the one that has a more solid image in a lighter color and do the detail in a darker color, because that wherever you have the less amount of ink, you don't want that darker color to hide. And this stamp, it doesn't really matter how you put it. Some you know you have to line up, but this it really doesn't matter. You can do it in any direction. And I'm going to stamp that right there. Okay, you see how that looks? Now, here's why it doesn't matter. I'm going to make my own center. You can see how I stamped just the edge of that center stamp. And I'm going to do that in soft suede. Just stamp it right on the edge. And if you don't like how dark that is, you can stamp off and then stamp. And I think I'm going to do that again. Stamp off and then stamp. And there we go. All right. Let's get our elements back over here. Now I want to show you how you can stretch this stamp. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my Cajun Craze piece. just like that. Okay, but you're saying, well, those are the same size, right? Well, if I take my paper snips and I cut this right in half, and I put one edge here and one edge here, get some glue. Just make sure I line that up. And that just gives us a nice little border to set that off. You could also cut it in half the long ways and do it top and bottom. But I just wanted the, I think it's going to be better. Let me add some glue right here. Gonna put the glue on this side. Just like this. All right. That just was not lining up like I wanted it to. Okay, so let's put our card together. Here's our Cajun Craze layer. Let's center that up. All right, and then our leaf layer, our DSP layer, just like that. All right, and remember that copper trim I was mentioning? I've got to add some to it. So we're pretty much going to put this here. And this trim, I don't know if you've seen it, but you can stretch it and it makes like this webbing. So I am just going to tie a bow. Just like this. And when I'm tying my bows, I do leave it on the roll to help from wasting. Get my ribbon scissors. Just trim that. Trim this other tail. And now I'm just going to stretch out these loops. I love this painted autumn, painted harvest. All right, so we're going to pop this up with some dimensionals. And let's let's go ahead and put it right here in the center. And then we can put our bow right up here. I'll attach that with a glue dot. So let's go ahead and stamp the inside of the card as well. Again, we're going to start off with the Daffodil Delight. And I've got a piece of Very Vanilla here, cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to stamp here on the edge. In fact, I may do at the top corner too, just to add some interest. And then our crushed curry for the more detail. You want to kind of line up those centers. That's the best way to line up the stamp. And then the soft suede for the center. Stamp off. Stamp just a little bit there. Stamp off. We're going to add this to the inside of the card. Get it lined up. Keep my card out of my ink. Alright, so there you have it. The Painted Harvest stamp set. Just a very simple card, but I'm sure the recipient will smile when they receive it. Who in your life are you thankful for? Let them know it and send them a card. Have a good day.